See, let's just go ahead and follow it. First, let's get the corners dialed in. Now, I'm going to make a small incision right here. I can feel a little bit of a bump. Now, on the other side, I'm going to hit it a little bit harder. Let me see if I can get you a shot. I said earlier, this one right here has got more meat, whereas on the other side, it can almost slide through. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to spend just a little bit more time on this. Let's go ahead and set our depth. Now we're going to go on in and hit it. Oh, I hate it when it moves like that. I really have to put the power on it sometimes. Sorry about that, guys. Alright, now. Like I said, this is where you got to be careful right here. Now I can feel the chunk that I just took out, and I know from years of doing it, that's about what I'm looking for. And that right there is on the thick side. Now on this side here, I'm not going to go near as much because I don't have to come that far. Alright, that's about it. And you can just feel how much more on this side that I've got to go than what I got to do on this side. Now what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to break away from tradition, and this time, what I'm going to do in this episode is pretty much cut the trenches. Instead of staying with the entrances, let's take a look at the push rod, or the, the head bolt hole that we're going to tube. Okay. Notice that I'm going to stay with the floor. I'm not going to go into the floor. I'm trying to stay sideways. Once again, I'm so sorry if my gloves get in the way. It's just there's no way to... Bad thing about aluminum is you always have to do this constantly. You can either use beeswax, which is what I used to use for years. Now I use that MIG welder gel. I found to me that it works better than the beeswax does. So anyway, let's continue on. One thing I can tell you, from cutting on them and playing with the prototypes and everything, I'll take a minute to tell you this. Believe it or not, after years and years of doing this, when you grab a head and you start cutting into it, you can tell how hard the aluminum is by how much force that it takes to create the trench and to cut the material out. And right now you can just tell this is like a dart or a Brodex. The material on this thing is so much harder than what the Pro Comps are. It's taking an effort to get a trench of equal size here. It's not exactly easy. Now, remember that you're putting more power on the hump area, and as you come back, you're easing off the pressure, because this is pretty much straight. Right here it's not. And I can't tell you how much better I feel cutting on this head than I do the comps, because right about now there's a trick on the Pro comps I'm not going to go into because I had to learn it painfully. When you're putting the tubes in them, it's very dangerous, and here I just don't have no worries at all. I'm very comfortable. I know there's plenty of meat in this head to be able to do what I do without putting me in any danger, and that's what I love. Alright? Now that's all the trench I'm going to put right there on that one, on the tube. So I'm going to go ahead and complete the trench marks, and then we'll have to turn the head upside down. And I'm going to go ahead and complete all that, and then we'll go to the next step where we're going to be doing some trenching, which is up on the sides to a point, the push rod side, because this is a canted port. Alright. Okay, now we're on the top side. We've reversed the head upside down, and I'm going to go in here once again. Sorry if the hands are in the way, but I'm going to try to, well, had to move it. I forgot. Whenever I power drive them that hard, buddy, I really move them, forming that trench. Alright, that ought to get you. Concentrate on the hump for a while. Come on out. Okay. Always got to stop and dip. And as you see, you'll start what I call my clover leaf is starting to form. If it wasn't worth the CFM that you get out of it, believe me when I tell you I wouldn't do it. Because putting tubes in, it's a lot of trouble, it's a pain in the tail, but the gains out of it are well worth the mods if you can spare the time or the money. Alright, I do that. Then I'm going to come up on the top side and do what we did on the entrances. See, right here is okay. This side here is not. So basically, I'm just going to reverse it. There's my head moving on me again. Anyway, that's all I'm going to do is on this right here, just a little bit of a cut, because it don't take much. This side here is already almost at the measurement. Alright, and on this side now, this one's going to get some meat cut out of it. And there is a feel to it. My clover leaf on the top on the straight wall side. I'm going to go ahead and complete the clover leaves and come back and let me show you what I've done, because there is one more trench trick on this particular head that's going to make it kick, that makes it all worth doing. The surprise is coming up next. Okay, now comes one of the tricks, and I'm not going to go into too much detail here. I don't want to give up too much, but at the same time I want you to understand what this head's capable of. And I'm trying to do it in a way that's beneficial to you. But what I've done is I figured out the length of where I want my cut. Now, what you got going on here is we got a canted runner. In other words, the design of this port is that it's canted, it's twisted, almost like a LT1 kind of. And what we got to do is take some of the twist out of it in the roof, not on the floor. We're going to leave that alone. But we're going to do it on the roof. And there's a starting point. And what I do is, when I calculate the math, I'm going to figure out, I'm going to take this ball, and I've got it where I want it, and I say, okay, right there is where I want the point to start. I'll measure it, look at it, set it away, and then what I'm going to do is make me a line. Now notice I'm spending more time. Let me see if I can get you a better view. I want to take the material out more over here. Okay? Now, as you can see, wow, that looks like a lot. That's about 300 or 350 thousandths. I'm going to make that same line straight across, and what that's going to do is I'm going to pull this down in a level shape so as I can take some of the twist out of it, but at the same time I don't want to weaken my perch area, because the object of this on this particular stage of porting is to give this head the maximum we can do without getting into a lot of epoxy and welding, with the tubes being the most trick. But what I'm trying to show you here, guys, is an area that is going to make a big difference on the overall flow numbers of this cylinder head. So you've seen how I took the ball, made me a level trench. Now I'm going to do that to the rest of it, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to chop it and let you see how I do it. Alright, here is, I went to the butcher hog. You gotta be very careful right here, and that we're just shaping. I'm trying to make a mound, if you will, to come up to it for support. And this is not an easy thing to do. Thank God we got a lot of meat. And if I do bust through on the top a little bit, that's not too bad. But this is the problem of the head, and we're solving the problem right now. So basically,